Hello friends, welcome to another video, and in this video we will go through another product design interview question. So the question is, how would you design a travel product for Facebook or Instagram? So this is our question. Let's begin with the question. I think we now fairly know the overall approach of how do we want to proceed with the problem. Mainly, the high-level approach is more about going through the context, then understanding the problems, and then coming up with solutions. So that's at a very, very high level, the framework, and this is what we'll try to follow. Okay, so within context, let's start with um, understanding the scope. Okay. So when we talk about, let's say, a travel product for Facebook or Instagram, I think we are specifically talking about uh, an a feature, a travel related feature within Facebook or Instagram. It is not necessarily an independent product. So it is in the FB ecosystem. Second, what do we mean by travel? So when we talk about travel, we mean everything related to, finding a place for travel. And then there is itinerary booking. So, booking travel, stays, itinerary, and then obviously traveling there and roaming around. And maybe even the post-travel part. So let's also include the post-travel part, which could be, social media posts or content or something similar. So this is essentially the definition of travel, and this is what we want to build in the either in the Facebook ecosystem or in the Instagram ecosystem. Okay, so that's our scope. In terms of constraints, let's assume that we do not have any time or resource constraints, and then move towards the goal of why do we want to do it. Um, what I mean, social media content on Facebook or Instagram is is like of different types. It could be entertainment, it could be travel, it could be education, and more. Now, one of the great segments, one of the great parts about social media is that it introduces you to new world. It introduces you to where people are traveling, what people are doing. It could simply be like a restaurant that they are visiting, or many more. So I think a great chunk of the Facebook or Instagram users are looking at Facebook and Instagram for travel related purposes, like not necessarily doing travel, but exploring new places, food, and engaging on multiple social media travel related posts, looking at travel influencers, and many more. And particularly in the post-COVID era, there has been quite a boost in the travel business. So I think it could be very, very profitable or even quite engagement driven for Facebook or Instagram to not only portray the social media content related to travel, but let's take like a step ahead in terms of engaging our users to be there in Facebook and Instagram to explore any travel related needs. So I would assume that it's not necessarily about acquiring new users, because yes, Facebook and Instagram already have quite a good chunk of users. But I think it's probably more about engaging these users more on Facebook and Instagram ecosystem. And I think that could be our goal when we are thinking about designing a travel product. Why not monetization? Because we are completely completely designing a new product and immediately thinking about monetization before even stabilizing on the engagement would be a quicker move or a premature move. So let's target engagement and also think about monetization as we picturize our long-term goals. Mission, I think the Meta's mission is to connect people together and provide like a proper social media platform for bringing everyone together. So I think travel product engaging people together definitely brings definitely ties along well with the mission. So no issues there when it comes to designing the product. Okay, so now let's look at. Oh, I think before even moving to the problem space, let's look at the competitors. Now, as I think of it, do we have any competitors that are in the social media space plus they are in the travel space? Not necessarily. But if we look at uh, travel leaders, I think there is booking.com definitely, and there are obviously flight operators that more or less dominate the uh, flight plus hotel stay ecosystem. And I think social media is definitely one of those entry points where I can actually lead users to find the right place, not uh, not confuse them with many options, keep it very, very relevant, but also at the same time, Facebook could be a platform where I could book my flights and look for my stay and not look for reviews, and not only for reviews from people that are strangers, which usually happens on booking.com, but for reviews from people that I know. And I think that would be extremely helpful. And that is where I think Facebook has a better competitive advantage. And let's try to actually leverage that advantage. Okay, now in the problem space, let's start with the users. Then we will move to pain points, and then we'll also prioritize our pain points. Great. Okay, so in the user segment, who do we have? First of all, we have our travel agencies. So basically, the ones who provide services or products related to travel. It could be tours, it could be flight, it could be hotel, Airbnb, service apartments, and more. What else? It could be guides for itineraries, and obviously there could be restaurants and more, but I think I'm just not specifically including them into the travel related part because they're applicable elsewhere, in a general ecosystem of business. So that's essentially the travel agencies part. So it's basically the suppliers. Now there is the demand side of it, the ones that are going to travel. And here there could be different types of people based on frequency who travel. One would be, let's say, occasional travelers, and then the other segment could be frequent travelers. Let's define occasional travelers as less than 2 travels per year, less than 2 travels per year. And then this is greater than equal to 2 travels per year. Okay. Now, within occasional and frequent, so that's, let's say, one segmentation. The another segmentation that I can potentially look at would be segmentation could be maybe by number of people who travel. So let's say I'm an individual person who is traveling. Maybe there is a couple, 2 people traveling. And then let's just assume that there is group or family traveling. So this is equal to 1 people traveling, this is equal to 2 people traveling, and this is greater than equal to 3 people traveling. Now, let's think of other possible segmentations. I think these two segmentations are good enough. Now, obviously, based on the target addressable market and the growth, I think it is great enough to actually prioritize frequent travelers base, because the target addressable market, particularly from a traveling perspective, would be larger here. And then within individual couple and group and family, maybe just because we are thinking from a social platform and social networking perspective, I think group and family, or let's say friends, groups, family, friends, that could be an interesting space where we could incorporate the social media or social networking angle to think about our product. So this is our prioritized segment: frequent users, frequent travelers that are greater than or equal to 3, and they're traveling in groups. Now let's look at pain points. Um, what could be at the pain points? And before actually looking at the pain points, let's look at the travel user journey at a higher level. The the journey could be, let's say, first of all, I find a place to travel. Then maybe I uh, connect with the group, get their alignment that, yes, we want to go to this place. Then maybe it is something around the budget. Let's fix the budget. Then let's start making the booking. So flight plus hotel bookings. Then it's probably itinerary on where to travel exactly, the nuances. And then we roam there exactly, and then you come back. So, and there could be post trip, social content related stuff that you might want to post either as an individual or with the group, so on. Okay, so given this in mind, let's think about the pain points. So the first pain point that I can think of is I can't find a relevant place to travel. It could be, let's say, a budget-friendly place, a trending place, or an offbeat place. It could be literally anything that suits, or it could be relevant for my needs, etc. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is connecting with the group. I think connecting with the group is not that big of a problem. I mean, I can still do it on Facebook, WhatsApp, but having a holistic place where I can search about travel and then also um, share all of the details with my friends is not yet is not probably the seamless way. Is not probably the best solution. So what probably I can do is I can think of a solution where I can connect, I can search all in one place. So I can't easily connect and share all my research related to a place. To finalize it, get everyone on board. So this is one. Budget, yes, I mean, budget is definitely a thing, but I think let's keep budget out of the way for now. maybe our travel product can suggest three different options like budget friendly, medium budget, and luxury, something on those lines. Then there is obviously flight plus hotel bookings. So depending upon the budget, I obviously, or depending upon reviews and value for money, I obviously need flights plus hotel, and it should be dependent on location as well as to where I want to travel. So the itinerary and hotel booking should technically go hand in hand, just because um, I want a very easy travel. So I think this is also something that we can think of. So I can't um, book my flights and hotel easily, with reviews, budget uh, in mind, and obviously itinerary in mind. So this is another problem statement. Another problem statement is I do not know where exactly to roam around in the city. It could be where to eat, how to best manage time, what spots will suit our group, and so on. And then finally, the last pain point is I do not have great content to post. I mean, I have tons of images or videos, but cannot curate them. So I need Facebook's help to help me get a kickstart um, as a creator. Got it. Okay. So let's think of prioritizing these pain points. Let's look at severity of the pain point as a parameter. Let's look at prevalence. Does it help with the goal? Okay, so I think let's take these three parameters and think about prioritizing it. Now, I can't find a relevant place to travel. I think this is pretty obvious. I think this is particularly confusing because I want to make sure that the place that I choose is very, very relevant. It's, suiting not only my needs, but everyone's needs. And that could be pretty crucial. It's probably one of the more time consuming phases. And in my opinion, this is definitely like a severe and a relevant problem, particularly for group travels. Okay, so once I, let's say, find a relevant place, because I need to align and bring everyone on the same page, I can probably connect and share all of my research that I have done related to finding a place, and then get everyone on the group to align and say that, okay, yeah, this is the place. So it's all about connecting, bringing everyone together, and the socializing aspect. This is obviously another pain point. So in my opinion, this is definitely like a smaller problem in comparison to finding a relevant place. So let me just bold pain point number one over pain point number two. The third one is obviously unable to book flights and hotels easily. Yes, you have reviews. Yes, you have a budget in mind and an itinerary in mind. Maybe Facebook can just enhance or improve the experience by providing more reviews and reviews from friends or community. But I think this is also a problem that has been very well solved. There are obviously bigger players out in the market, so maybe we could leverage like a rerouting mechanism in which you are technically booking, maybe through Facebook or Instagram, but it's still getting booked via the aggregators, and they have the biggest uh, they have the biggest, technology and sophisticated technology to actually make things happen on these lines. Okay, so I would probably keep that lower on priority. The next one, which is pretty interesting, is I do not know where exactly to roam. So it's all about itinerary. Now, itinerary is, many times I have seen on Facebook and Instagram that influencers usually share itineraries. So I think there is quite a lot of data that we can possibly leverage, and posts, locations, all of this data that we can possibly leverage in terms of actually creating a very great itinerary for our potential traveler groups. So this could be an interesting problem to solve, looks in very much in scope, and can also help us with the goal engagement. And the final one is, I do not have great content to post. I think this is also a very interesting problem. I think from Facebook's perspective, since we want to increase engagement, this comes in handy because during travel, there's a lot of pictures and videos that's been clicked by users. And we want our users to engage on the platform with their content, which essentially means that we should just, help them with kickstarting their journey as a creator, with some solutions. Okay, so I think this is what I have in mind. Let's prioritize these three pain points, and then move forward with into the solution space by by designing solutions around these three pain points. Okay. Um, so the first one could be the personalized place recommender, which essentially would be exactly based on the parameters that we discussed, a solution that gives you multiple options, mostly at max three, budget friendly, based on trending places, offbeat places, relevance, and so on. Relevance based on the content you see, etc. Another set of data points that we can potentially leverage here is what you like, your profile, and basically match it with similar profiles, similar age groups, um, your travel history from the past and their travel history from the past, and trying to come up with potential new cities that should be explored. And it should not be something which is like completely out of the world. If I'm, let's say, based in India, maybe there are alternatives where I can suggest places to visit in India, and there could also be places to visit in somewhere around me, and then there should be something very, very, very far away, let's say Australia or New Zealand. So I think those nuances have to be considered in terms of providing a recommendation on moving forward with a place to visit. So this is one. Your profile, similar profiles, um, travel history, potentially where you can go versus where others have gone. So these nuances. Um, there could also be an interesting feature that we could incorporate into the personalized place recommender, is show some reels as reels or video content to give a flavor of the place. So example, if let's say Maldives comes as a recommendation and I probably do not know Maldives, there could be, let's say, a set of 20 to 50 reels that could give me a flavor of, what Maldives is. Do I like the vibe? Do I not like the vibe? And things like that. So I think this could be a pretty interesting flavor to, visualizing the recommendation that Facebook or Instagram is providing to the user. And as a researcher or as a leader of this particular group who wants to travel, I can take all of the set of reels and send it to all of my friends in the group to also let them know that this is what the place looks like and this is where exactly we can roam. Yeah, so that's the first part. Now, the next problem was I do not exactly know where to roam. And this is basically the itinerary planner. Now, based on posts from influencers and like others in the community, and there are obviously location data and images. Also need to look at uh, travel interests of the group by looking at posts. Maybe I'm interested in a museum, or maybe I'm interested in places to eat, or maybe I'm interested in hiking and things like that. So let's say museum is something that interests us as a group. So I think that those nuances can be considered into suggesting an itinerary, and maybe three options for itinerary can be recommended. There could also be, okay, yeah, so there could also be like, relaxed itineraries versus moderate in terms of time management, or let's say aggressive, wherein I want to visit many places, let's say 10 spots in a day. So I think those angles can also be considered when we are suggesting the itineraries to our potential travel group. Yeah, and then obviously it has to be route optimized. So place one, place two, place 10, and then back home. And there has to be lunch and best places to eat, and all of those things in consideration. Okay, and then finally, I do not have great content to post. So I think this is not necessarily going to be applicable for the travel part, but I think it can be reproduced across all of the different sections of Facebook and Instagram, where if I have, let's say, a dump of videos and photos, I just put it in some place and I get like a curated post with 3 images, or 5 reels that I can potentially post across the next 2 weeks to probably gain more followers and better engagement. So something like a content creator assistant, dump a bunch of photos or videos and get few posts or reels um, for like you as an individual, or let's say even group. And this also acts like this also acts as interesting data points, where similarly to a feature where LinkedIn says that LinkedIn helped me get this job, it could be these posts are, or this travel is basically supported or enabled by Facebook or Instagram, could be an interesting thing. Uh, just so that there is probably a better ecosystem of positive reviews, testimonials, and people start using the product more and more. Okay. And finally, there could be a usage of groups or DMs. So basically, when we spoke about when we spoke about personalized praise recommender or even itinerary planner, I think sharing itineraries, places to visit, um, along with the reels or images, just so that everyone gets a visual feel of where we are visiting, what exactly are we going to do, could be interesting. And then we have everyone on the same page in terms of getting approvals and things like that, so that we have a very concrete group of, let's say, 4 to 5 people who are interested in traveling to, example, the Maldives, and doing visiting, let's say, 5 spots per day. Okay, so this is our solution. And then eventually, I think as an end-to-end product vision solution, I think it could be, let's say, a very dedicated feature related to travel, either in Instagram or in Facebook. Let's imagine Facebook for the time being, and it could be pretty similar to a marketplace. Marketplace has a dedicated section on Facebook, so it could be Facebook travel. And then there could be two sections to it. One is like a one click solution, where give me a travel itinerary for 5 people. Give me travel itinerary for 5 people, and it should be like a beach spot. Just 10 parameters to enter. So let's say 10 parameters to enter, and you get three um, three travel recommendations as output. So this is more or less like a generative AI driven solution, pretty fancy. But then at the same time, there could be other multiple step solution, which is, first of all, find a place. We have spoken about it, which is, let's say, using the personalized place recommender, and then align with your group through this, and also share details if required. Bookings. So reroute to, let's say, just for the time being, let's say booking.com. Then itinerary should be through the itinerary planner that we have thought about. And then finally, once you have done everything, post content, so you have the content creator assistant. So these could be the two potential solutions. Obviously, for the time being, we are moving with the second solution, because the first one can be more of a moonshot idea in the beginning, and then we can try to achieve some part of the product vision's first solution eventually, as we move ahead in the Facebook travel product process. Okay, so this is what we have. Let me bold it so that we know that we are actually prioritizing this particular solution. And this is more or less considered as a moonshot idea. Okay. Let's look at the impact versus effort. Now, this is probably going to be the most important thing, as it has high impact, and the effort is probably not going to be as high. So I think in terms of effort, I would probably rate it as a moderate. Does it help us solve the goal of engagement? It definitely does. Does it solve the pain point? It definitely does. Itinerary planner, I think this is also a um, high impact thing. The effort can probably be similar. This is probably going to be similar in as compared to the personalized place recommender thing, because you have all of the data points, but because it's probably like a new area, travel and itineraries is probably like a newer area for Facebook. This might be slightly higher, very slightly higher than the personalized place recommender, because in this place recommender we are potentially looking at our posts, our data profiles, the historical content that we have, the potential users have been using. So it's very similar. So maybe just to distinguish the effort, let's do it as a low effort for personalized place recommender and moderate effort for itinerary planner. Now this is already existing, so I think it's moderate effort and low impact. It does solve the goal, but again, I just think that the amount of impact is not as big as it's here. Now, this is more or less like a cherry on the cake. It depends on how we want to scope out the travel product. Do we want to focus on the travel part of the travel part of the journey, or do we want to focus on the post travel part of the journey? So that's essentially it. I think the content creator assistant is no doubt going to be very high effort, and it is going to be having a very high impact. The interesting part here is that it's not going to be necessarily applicable for just travel, but it can be actually leveraged across all of the different content categories. It could be leveraged across education, entertainment, and many more. So yeah, I think it just depends on how we want to focus here. My initial hunch in terms of focus shall be, let's look at the initial part of the travel journey. So let's do something like this. Let's do this as MVP. This is phase one. And then let's do this as phase two, following the um, travel user journey process. Also, when we look at the engagement, if we are looking at the incremental engagement that we can bring with this particular product, my hunch would be that the incremental engagement will probably come from these two solutions and not necessarily from this, because if I'm traveling, there is a good likelihood that even if I do not get like a creator assistant, I might post some of the other content, even with low quality. I might just dump all of the images, I might just dump all of the videos, and eventually create a few reels or a few posts related to all of my travel. So engagement is somehow coming. But with these two solutions, I think the engagement is going to be driven more from a goal perspective. Great. So let's look at the North Star, and then let's look at some supporting matrix to track, and some guardrail matrix to look at. Okay. Now our goal was engagement. Our goal was engagement, and we are focusing on personalized place recommendations and itineraries. maybe something like, time spent on Facebook travel product, place recommendation and itinerary planner, and then there is also group DMs and so on. So the time spent on Facebook travel product could be an interesting one, or even we could do something like percentage time spent on Facebook travel product upon the total time spent upon on Facebook. Supporting matrix here could be number of groups created for travel purposes, number of itineraries, um, and here there could be DMs, likes, comments, etc. As potential engagement parameters within the group. Number of itineraries, design, their impressions clicked, and so on. Regarding Facebook place recommendations, number of places recommended, and again, real impressions, views, likes, shares, and so on. I think that is also going to be critical. As Facebook travel product, I would also like to know the successful uh, travel related trips that's happened. So, something on the lines of conversion would be interesting. So, successful trips upon the sessions created or something on those lines. Okay, so in terms of guardrails, one is should not spend like a lot of time on place recommendation in particular. It should not be that confusing. So not necessarily like, high, not not a lot of time should be spent. Like high number of places should also not be recommended because it might create confusion. Similar stuff with itineraries as well. Itineraries. And a guardrail, I think conversion is probably going to be very, very important. So successful trips upon high engagement is also concerning that, okay, there is a lot of engagement in Facebook travel, but it's not leading to successful trips. We need to think on those lines as well. But because it is already mentioned in supporting matrix, I'd just probably put like a guardrail there itself and not explicitly mention in guardrail matrix. Some way to check bookings that have been rerouted. to third-party aggregators? Booking is successfully done when rerouted to third-party aggregators, because otherwise we are probably losing out on the journey. And if this rerouting to third-party aggregators is, just creating like another hurdle, we might consider removing this third-party aggregation from the um, rerouting this to third-party aggregators from the flow. So this is also something that we could look at. Okay. Now let's look at the risks. I think the biggest risk would be adoption. Um, the biggest risk here should be adoption. So we need to be cautious about um, the user segment we are targeting, and the positioning or the go-to-market strategy would be very clear. Should be very clear that okay, Facebook is probably the place to get reviews, lot of great content and relevant content as to where you want to visit. And then we are specifically using influencers help to target that group traveler segment, and promoting it the right way so that there is adoption. The next one is accuracy of recommendations is going to be critical, because if the itineraries or the place recommendations are not very relevant or accurate, maybe I'm just not going to um, find it pretty interesting. So the first few interactions of me as a user with the product are going to be critical, and they would also determine the future of the product. So this is also something that I would be uh, thinking of from a risk perspective. The another angle is obviously monetization. So I think because we laid down the broader flow, um, where you have to find a place, connect, and then flight and hotel bookings. I think one of the interesting parts of actually completing the monetization could, is rerouting. But at the same time, we also thought that rerouting can potentially break the flow. So rerouting is a good way to monetize, but need to think of, but need to consider whether it is not breaking the flow. So let's think about that as well when we are designing the product. Okay, so summarizing travel product for Facebook or Instagram, we looked at the high level context, but, aligned on building the travel product in the Facebook ecosystem. From a user segment perspective, we are looking at groups, frequent traveler groups, and pain points, mostly focusing on finding a relevant place to travel, itineraries, and then posting good content in the on social media for better engagement. We prioritize the first two solutions, like personalization of place recommendation system and then itinerary planner as the top two solutions. And content creator assistant, given that might not, it will bring a boost in engagement, incremental engagement, but we expect that users will definitely post something, if not everything. So the incremental engagement might be higher in the first two solutions. looked at some of the moonshot and multiple step ideas. We obviously in the beginning will go ahead with the multiple steps ideas. For North Star, let's look at the percentage time spent on the travel product, and also covered some risks related to the accuracy of the model. And that being like a very good uh, barrier to entry, or probably like an impression creator for the travel product in the minds of the consumers. Okay, great. Cool. Thank you so much. Hope you liked the video. If you like it, ensure that you subscribe first of all, and also like the video, share it if you want others to benefit from this. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.